Martin Scorsese's Wolf of Wall Street. I was talking exclusively with the man who is the inspiration for Leonardo DiCaprio's character.
I think what Jordan just did is if I'm not mistaken, you just tried to bribe a federal officer.
No, technically I didn't bribe anybody.
No, that's not the conversation.
No. According to the U.S. Criminal Code, there needs to be an exact dollar figure for the exchange of services. That would not hold up in a court of law.
I heard it.
No. That's the truth.
Yes, the real-life Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, is here tonight, live and unleashed. Hollywood has made Jordan Belfort into a big story. It doesn't get much better than watching Leo DiCaprio surely play you on the big screen in a movie that could be Oscar-bound. But in real life, Jordan Belfort used what's called a pump and dump to scam more than 1,500 investors and blew millions on everything from drugs to women to yachts to cars. Ended up behind bars for securities fraud and money laundering, serving 22 months of a 4-year sentence. And Jordan Belfort joins me now exclusively. You're like one of the most notorious people in the entire world, Jordan Belfort. Literally, I have had calls from all over the world in the last 24 hours since we announced this, because you don't give interviews, certainly not for a long time. You haven't given them for this movie until now.
Right.
Now you've let yourself loose here for the next hour. How do you feel about this extraordinary mayhem erupting around you, your story, and this movie?
Well, it's a bit surreal for sure, because I mean, I think I like to think controversial more than notorious, and I chose not to give any interviews for a while, and I think I wanted the movie to be basically played. I think the studio wanted that as well, and I thought this would be a good place to sort of get the message out. And I'm sure people have questions. You have questions, and
what is the real message you want to get out?
Well, I mean, I guess for me, it's important that the movie's viewed the right way. Certainly as a cautionary tale. I know there's this big issue of people maybe glamorizing what happened, and I think that. I mean, I think Kerry Winter, the guy who wrote the screenplay, said it best when he was interviewed. He goes, "If you look at this movie and you walk away thinking this is how you want to live your life, then you have a screw loose." So,
but people said that about Wall Street and Gordon Gekko, and of course, even you admit that Gordon Gekko became this weird inspiration to go and be a Gordon Gekko. Many other people did too. And I suppose the criticism of the movie right now is people will look at Jordan Belfort's life, played by Leo DiCaprio, and it is very glamorous in the movie for a large part of it. You don't see much of the human side of the victim, so we're going to come to that a bit later. There is a danger that all this movie will do is create a load of the old Jordan Belforts, except not the guy you now are.
Right, the old
but the old one, who even you admit was a pretty bad guy.
Yeah. Well, I don't really think that is going to happen, and I'll tell you why. I think that there's a fundamental difference between the Gordon Gekko character and myself. Number one, Gordon Gekko was a fictionalized character, and they never really saw his downfall. Well, I think in the end of the movie he got taped, and then he pushes button, and that's that. You don't find out to Wall Street 2 of what happened to Gordon Gekko. In this movie, it's pretty clear that I lost everything, and also my story is known throughout the world, that I ended up in jail, that it was a disaster personally, professionally. And I think, that being said, though, I think there's a lot of great things to glean from the movie. So I think that hopefully when people see this, they can say, there's some things in there that, wow, really are inspiring, starting from nothing, the stuff with selling and motivation. I think that does inspire, and I think it should move people. But they need to get it in a context that if you're not doing with ethics and integrity, it's a disaster for yourself and everyone around you.
Let's watch 2 clips.
Sure.
The first one is Leo DiCaprio in character as Jordan Belfort from the movie talking about you.
My name is Jordan Belfort. The year I turned 26, I made $49 million, which really pissed me off because it was 3 shy of $1 million a week.
Was all this legal? Absolutely not.
The second clip, this is Leo DiCaprio talking about the real you. So not from the movie, but just a proper interview with Leo talking about what he thinks of you personally.
I've been in his company many times, but there is nothing quite like Jordan's public speaking and his ability to train and empower young entrepreneurs. Jordan stands as a shining example of the transformative qualities of ambition and hard work. And in that regard, he is a true motivator.
I suppose my first question would be, pretty extraordinary, right? I mean, there's you had it all, you lost it all, you're down, everything's gone. Now you've got the hottest movie star in the world paying you that kind of compliment in a piece he wanted out there for people to see. What did it make you feel like to see DiCaprio do that?
It was amazing. I mean, I think that it's a testament to Leo's character that he could, obviously speaking about my new life and not my whole life in that clip. And I think that originally when Leo saw this project, I think he was, he wanted to get it on screen, and he said this publicly because it represented the mistakes that I made and the attitude I had at that time represents a lot of what really went wrong ultimately many years later with Wall Street, and I think was important to him. And I think that what impressed Leo, I think, about my new life so much is he saw me really make this radical turn. And I think that moved him, and I was really proud and shocked that he did that.
How much time did you spend with Leo DiCaprio?
I spent a lot.
Like what?
Countless hours. Hundreds of hours.
Hundreds of hours in his
probably,
company.
Yeah, 100+ hours.
And how did you find him, and how did he find you when you were just interacting together?
Oh, either by telephone in my house or his house, or out somewhere, and we were just literally. He said, one thing I don't think people realize about Leo is. His excellence is not by, it's like he strives for it. He works really, really hard. And I think he was so determined to suck every bit of information from me and any stuff that wasn't in the book and sort of, what was on my mind, just really trying. And I guess you don't realize how much he's looking at you, because when I saw it on screen, I was like, oh my God. I thought it was mind-boggling to see it.
I mean, I can tell already the voice is pretty well perfect.
It was amazing.
He's got you. You don't look massively dissimilar to, I guess, in your younger days to how he is in the movie and so on. When you watched the movie, what did you feel about the reality? Because only you would know, really.
It was shocking. When I first saw the movie with my fiance the first time, and we were speechless afterwards. And I was told,
in a good or bad way.
In a good and in a good way. I mean, I guess listen, for me it's different than when the audience sees it. I think they're speechless because they're just like overwhelmed with some sensory overload. For me, it was trying to sort of, I come to terms with my old life. I wrote this book, and that was like a cathartic experience for me. But to see it on film like that with someone that did such a good job, I felt myself sweating at certain points when some of the cocaine was being snorted. I'm like, I got a little sympathetic reactions to it, and I just. It was,
but all that was true, right? I mean, I remember reading, I think, an FBI guy who was investigating. He said that the thing about Jordan Belfort is it's all true. I mean, let's go through some of the things in the movie, because I got to say, I love the movie. You haven't seen it, regardless of the moral issues it raises. It's a brilliant movie.
It's a very brilliant,
incredibly entertaining, brilliantly made.
Scorsese for sure,
and great actors everywhere. Matthew McConaughey, Leo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill. I mean, they're all terrific. But let's go through some of the stories. A female employee shaved her head for $10,000 in front of the baying mob of staff. True?
True. To get breast implants, so it was sort of even worse. It was like the whole idea.
To get breast implants, she shaved her head for $10,000.
Yes. And I guess the philosophy was, her hair would grow back and then it would all be perfect in 6 months. So that was the amazing, the rationalization. I think that was it's interesting that you brought that scene up, because I think that was a scene that it personally disturbed me, and I think it probably disturbed a lot of people when you see it.
Did it at the time disturb you, or were you just too high to know?
No, well, no, it wasn't that I was so high, but it didn't start the way it started. We shaved a guy's head for $10,000, and that was really fun. Within a year, a head shaving was $50. Like, the price went down because
$50.
Well, you become numb, and that's what happens with insanity and all this sort of stuff that you do, where what seems amazing at first becomes commonplace after a while. You don't lose your soul all at once. You lose it a little bit at a time, incrementally. When I lost my ethical way, it did not start off. I'm sure we'll get to that later, but it's sort of like these tiny, imperceptible steps over the line, and before you do it, see, each time your line of morality moves a bit, and before you know it, you're doing things you thought you'd never do, and it seems perfectly okay. Same thing goes with a head shaving. So the day one, it was, oh yeah, let's shave a guy's head, $10,000. He needed the money. It all made sense. It'd be fun. The crew cut, right? And then a year later, flash forward, and it's completely off the rails.
Dwarves being thrown onto Velcro dartboards.
Right. Well,
did that happen?
I wasn't there at the time, so I didn't throw.
But you heard it happen
after I left. Yes.
What do you think about that as a?
Well, I don't think it's appropriate, for sure. I mean, obviously, I think it'd be humorous to watch it as an outsider, but in a very bizarre sort of way. I don't think it's the sort of humor that you want to, let's just say, I don't endorse the practice by any stretch.
It was said there was so much sex in your office, you had to have a sign above it saying sex-free zone.
Right. Well, the problem with that is that we had all these young guys. Everyone was 18 to 23, and all the young girls, and everyone's making a lot of money, and there's a lot of drugs going around. So I don't think it takes much of a leap of imagination to figure out what happened next. And it started really with the elevator, and someone christened the elevator early on, and And I look back at it now, and I can only scratch my head, and that I sort of, I would say, let's say I was instigating it in a way, not that I was responsible for all of it, but by being the leader, it becomes a reflection of what I was at the time. And that was, so I take responsibility for it, and I wasn't even there for a lot of it.
Your number two, portrayed in the movie by Jonah Hill, ate a live goldfish that belonged to a Stratton Oakmont, the firm employee. Did that happen?
It happened.
You saw him do that?
Yeah, and the thing with that is that, his character was heavily fictionalized. He represents...
So the real life guy is who, really?
It's a guy named Danny. And in the movie, he represents a bunch of different characters. So in fairness to Danny...
But did Danny eat the goldfish?
He ate the goldfish, though, yes, and he's publicly admitted that. And
when you watch that happening, I mean...
It was...
kind of nadir of broking excess, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that, these things do happen on Wall Street. They just do. And insanity happens.
Are they part of the folklore, the legend, the kind of chest-beating... Again, Gordon Gekko, whatever thing. But is that what it's about, really? It's about who can go the furthest? I
think that sort of behavior isn't just endemic to Wall Street. I think it's endemic to large groups of men who are drinking or doing any sort of, substances, or in a frat house or whatever it might be, where, people, it's like sort of the herd mentality, the crowd mentality, where people individually never do these things. You put 50, 100 in one spot, and all of a sudden the rules of behavior start to change.
Did you have a chimpanzee in the office handing out mail?
Not mail, just people had pets in the office. So there was an iguana, a rattlesnake, boa constrictor, all this sort of stuff.
John, you're saying this like this is all perfectly normal. If I came into my CNN office one day with an iguana, a rattlesnake, and a chimpanzee, I would be frog marched out of there high speed. You're kind of thinking this is perfectly normal.
I don't know. I heard some rumors that they have stuff in Silicon Valley. People they bring their pets to work, and they have all this sort of free. But for there, it's about free spirit, so they can be creative. I think we took it in a different direction here. So I don't think it was. I don't think the outcome was as healthy as it happens in Silicon Valley.
What was the single most appalling thing you ever saw? Where even you went, oh my God.
I can't say it on television, but it happened at my bachelor party, and I wrote this scene when I got the scene in the bachelor party.
So bad you can't even tell me.
I'm not on air. I'll tell you.
Can you give me a clue?
Oh, it had to do with an act of sexual depravity that was so depraved that even I myself was speechless. There was about 100 people watching when it happened. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. And at the time, I think there was probably 50 prostitutes there, and they said it was the most disgusting thing they've ever seen. So it was pretty raunchy.
Okay.